everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. I am Captain Logan. It is 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night, and these days, you know what that means. That means I'm going to chat with you for a full hour and ramble on about whatever random topics you would like to hear me ramble on about. Joining me in my rambling this evening, as always, is my wonderful chat moderator, producer, and fantastic logo designer, Danny Nixon.
Hey, everybody, and thank you for the warm introduction, Cap.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for the warm helping me out with the show so that I don't have to run off by my lonesome and do the work of two people. Danny has made the show so much smoother and more efficient and more fun to do because if I need a quick breather, he can fill in a little bit and we don't have to listen to dead air. I think I did okay, Danny, those first few shows, but this is so much better.
Yeah, I think you were natural just rambling on.
That's funny. I appreciate it. Well, that's what the show is. Thanks a bunch. I want to thank everybody who is tuning in right now. Everyone who is, yes, because everyone would work as a singular noun in that context. So yes, everyone is tuning in. Thanks a bunch for being here. We've already got a good amount of folks there in the comments. Welcome to Mario 500 Now, William Parcell, Nightwatch Gaming, Jeffrey Patron, Lone Wolf Jedi of Gotham, Kellen O'Rourke. There's Donnie St. Pierre. There's J-Man. Greetings, everybody that I just mentioned, and everybody I didn't. And sorry if I'm not calling your name, but I would be here all day. Thanks a bunch, everybody, for hanging out, and thanks for watching this after the fact if you're doing that. As always, folks, the super chat is open. If there's something you want to make sure that I answer this evening, you can send just a couple of bucks, and that helps us out here with the production on the channel. We sure appreciate it. You guys have been absolutely fabulous in helping us out with the show and supporting it. I also want to say thanks, as always, to all of our patrons at patreon.com/geekvolution. Just $2 a month there gets you access to our twice monthly talk show, Geekvolution After Dark. If you want to hear Eric and I talk about stuff we wouldn't usually talk about. Danny, this last time we ended up doing a whole section on guns and gun control, and that's a thing that I don't usually talk about. I was really nervous and was not prepared for that. It was not remotely comfortable, but if you want to hear me and Eric talk about that and hear me spin my wheels going, I'm not comfortable talking about this, patreon.com/geekvolution.
And another cheap plug, if you don't want to hear Cap talk about the gun debate, he also, in that same After Dark, also has a really cool discussion about, like, you know, creating a superhero-based comic universe, like, from the ground up. If you really do it in like modern
I'm glad
day.
you brought that one up, because in fact, I am going to post that segment or part of that segment publicly on the channel as the the kind of commercial video for that After Dark. So that should go up tomorrow, but I'll put up an excerpt for that so you can get a sense of what we do on that show. And that one I wanted to post because it's basically a pretty good GNN, and I think it's GNN length, so you'll pretty much get a bonus GNN. But there you go. That's what's going on there. Still working on the Daredevil Rewind. I'm sorry that's not out yet. I've had a lot of family over this whole weekend. We had family down and I couldn't work on anything and was not expecting the whole time. We had a wonderful time. But if you don't know, my wife and I recently had another baby. He is 2 weeks, about 2.5 weeks old now. And no, I guess pretty much just 2 weeks old. It's just Wednesday, yeah. And anyway, so that's of course been taking up a lot of my time, and we've had a lot of folks over and stuff. So I was a little bit too liberal in my estimate of when that rewind was going to come out, but never fear, not too distant future. And Eric and I are on hiatus right now from the Geekvolution Omnibus, but I am prepared to go ahead and announce this now. Jason and I are going to do a minibus for you next week. He and I have been working on a few things that we're going to chat with you about. And we're going to do basically the omnibus format a little bit condensed and a lot shorter. And look forward to that. We're going to talk about some really fun things and even a couple of requests from our patrons for that show as well. Tonight is Ask Me Anything again. Last week we did an Ask Me Anything show, and there's been a lot of interesting geeky news and things lately, and lots of stuff that people have been sending messages about, wanting me to talk about. So I thought it would be another good night to open it up to you guys as an open forum and let you guys ask me anything you want to chat about as opposed to a theme show. And we may do a theme show next week, although I'm hearing from a lot of people saying that this is their favorite format for the show, which is apparently me just showing up and not preparing anything at all. I guess that's what people most prefer, Danny, is just, no, show up. Just show up. So here we are. I have shown up, and let's go ahead and get started. We've got a $1.99 super chat from Astronaut, misspelled.
I love how specific that number is, $1.99.
Yeah.
It feels like there should be tax added to the end once we...
It sounds like I should be buying a fast food hamburger or something.
Right? It sounds like a McDouble, except the McDouble's like $2.56 now. Don't ask me why I know the price of a McDouble right off the top of my head.
Are you sure, though? That didn't sound like the most precise number. You said it's like $1.56.
No, it's like $2.56.
Oh, pardon me. Yeah, that is.
I remember when it was $1. I'm that old.
Yeah, well, I mean, but they also sometimes had the dollar menu. And...
Yeah. But they took the McDouble off the dollar menu, which disappointed me. Anyways, on to the actual topic. Have you heard of a show called Teen Wolf? Just wondering.
I have. I sure have. Last week, I heard about it quite frequently. In fact, I think the dollar amount for Super Chat was doubled last week, just over Teen Wolf. I have decided from possibly popular demand, still hard to say, that I am definitely going to do off-the-cuff season overviews for at least the first 3 seasons. So I can't promise exactly when that's going to happen. I'm backed up with a lot of rewinds and a lot of requests, and as soon as I get finished with Daredevil, I'm going to have to get back to at least twice a month rewinds because I've got so much stuff in the queue right now. Danny, I got the top 50 performances video to do. I got Ant-Man to do. Somebody requested John Wick. I got to do that. That'll be an interesting one to write an analysis of. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Got a whole bunch of stuff in the queue. We are really close to the 650 line there on Patreon. We've actually passed it and fallen back from it a couple of times. So I'm going to go ahead and count that as having passed that goal. But once we pass it again, I'll reveal what I'll put in the queue for 700. But for that goal, it was Shaquille O'Neal's steal, so that is also going to happen. And anyway, there's like 7 or 8 things in the queue right now, so I've really got to get to work on that. But Teen Titans, Teen Wolf, down the road, hopefully at least another season. I say another season, I got to finish first. Hopefully first season at least this year. Don't want to promise anything, but it will happen. Okay, Danny, what else do we have, sir?
We have another super chat from Super Nerd. Favorite Clint Eastwood films?
Wow, sorry, Super Nerd. I hate doing that. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie that Clint Eastwood directed. Have I? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know right off. I mean, I know I've seen a couple of movies in there but I'm not a huge Clint Eastwood fan. I don't right off have an answer for that. I feel horrible. This is one of those times where I'm like, I feel like I have to wiki the man and just make sure, you know what I mean? Like, because right. Movies aren't immediately coming to me. Like, yeah. Was he in Space Cowboys? Do you remember Space Cowboys?
I don't know anything about Clint Eastwood. I could go ask my dad because he's a Clint Eastwood fan.
Yeah,
but as far as me,
I didn't grow up with those. Yeah, no, I kind of feel bad. I'm going to check real quick and just make sure that there's not major stuff that I actually have seen that I'm missing. Because this is sometimes I get these blind spots where it's like, oh, Cap, you haven't seen this major film? No, I haven't seen this major film.
A couple people are saying Gran Torino, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I guess.
Yeah, I've just never seen those.
Directed or starred in.
Yeah, but even a lot of the big ones that he starred in, I've probably never seen, just because they're not the kinds of things I immediately gravitate toward. Unforgiven, I've never seen. I need to see that. I mean, his filmography is a bunch of movies that I know are important that I just have never bothered with. Bridge of Madison County, I've never seen. Outlaw Josie Wales, I've never seen. Just a lot of stuff that modern westerns that, and I guess even older westerns that I just never bothered with. Because that wasn't my genre growing up. So
yeah, and the Western / cowboy genre has never been anything that interested me. So I haven't like made a conscious decision to not watch Clint Eastwood stuff. It's just I never seek it out. So it's way out of my wheelhouse.
Yep, way out of my wheelhouse. Well, thanks for the super chat. Sorry I didn't have a more satisfying answer, but maybe I will take the time to. I should talk to Eric and see if he's seen any of those, because he likes westerns more than I do. But he's got a much broader palate and taste than I have.
Up next, super chat from Webmaster47. Looking forward to your season overviews of Teen Wolf. Thanks, Cap.
Thanks for the super chat, buddy. You're welcome.
Okay, the first non-super chat question.
Super Nerd says thanks anyway. No, I really appreciate it, man. Especially those bigger movies that I hear people talk about all the time, but I've never bothered with. I'll go back and try to check out a 2 or 3 if I can find the time. So you said you're not a Western fan. Do you have a favorite Western?
Not really.
Mine is hands down High Noon. If you've never seen High Noon, it's brilliant. Check that one out.
Yeah, I don't even think I can name one off the top of my head.
Really great ticking clock in that movie. Really cool cinematography. But that's a movie I wouldn't have thought to watch on my own. I saw that in a college course on screenwriting. That's the only reason I saw that.
Interesting. David Crabtree says Cap's favorite Clint Eastwood movie, Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, on to the actual questions. Orpheus asks, "Hey Cap, it looks like Hasbro is going to be developing a sequel to Power Rangers 2017, according to Game Informer and The Nerdist."
Yeah, this came up today. Everybody and his dog sent me messages about this. And I think part of that is because I called this totally wrong. I said there was no way that Hasbro was going to make a sequel to that movie. And I would have said that all the way up to today. A couple of weeks ago, now to be fair, I didn't know this until today, but along with this news came the information that I didn't know, that they were auctioning off costumes and props from that movie at Comic-Con. And now Hasbro comes out and says that their movie will be a follow-up. I knew this would come up tonight. Not surprised at all that this is the first major topic we're talking about. I'll bring this up again in the minibus that I'm going to do with Jason, but I'll probably say many of the same things. I'm assuming that they're going to completely redesign it. That visually it will be a totally different thing. Maybe not tonally. Tonally it will have to change a little bit if they make it really toyetic, like I suspect they're probably going to try to do. But if it's just, they've had the license for a couple of months now, right? Like they would have had some idea, I would assume, that they were thinking of that they were going to do a sequel and not just a complete from the ground up reboot when they got rid of all the costumes and props.
Yeah, I can't imagine this was just something that immediately just came up. As far as like a sequel to something like that would have at the very least been in development well before that, or at least would have been talked about to the point where if they were seriously considering doing that, they wouldn't have sold stuff off.
Yeah, I mean, if they were confident to come out and announce it now, that's obviously been discussed ever since Hasbro got the license, and they weren't willing to say whether or not it was going to be a sequel to that movie when they first announced, no, we're definitely making more movies. And a lot of people were reporting then, oh, they're making a sequel to 2017, and I think rightly so, said, well, no, not necessarily. That's not what they said. They just said, we're going to make movies. So that doesn't vindicate folks that said that, because they jumped to the gun, certainly, because that wasn't the information yet. But it is now. They called it a follow-up to the 2017 movie, and in my mind, that can only mean sequel. I don't know what else they would be doing unless it's some kind of really weird, just in your second movie, soft reboot. But so my question is, and I'm assuming that whole cast will come back if they can get everybody. I don't know if moving the license over, if they would still be under contract or not. That was the first thing I wondered, is like, if anybody doesn't want to come back or is busy with other projects, are they under contract? Did Saban get not just did Hasbro get from Saban not just the license for movie rights and every other kind of rights, but also the contracts? Maybe they would if they have the ability to to do a sequel to that movie. I don't know. And secondly, if they do redesign it, how faithful is it going to be to the original series? Is Bryan Cranston going to be in a tube this time instead of a wall? I wonder what how far they'll go.
I would think if you're going to change up the look of it so drastically, especially stuff like beyond costumes, but just sets and all that kind of stuff, what would be the point of making it a sequel to begin with? Because you're just going to confuse everyone. At that point, you could almost get away with rebooting it and just keeping the same actors, because I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't even immediately know offhand who was in the first one and who wasn't.
I don't agree with that. I think that would confuse people even more if it was a reboot but was including the same actors, because the one thing nearly everybody could agree with that movie is the cast is great. And I think a lot of people were invested enough in those characters, even if they weren't really impressed with the mythology or lack thereof, or the aesthetic and the costumes and swords and stuff. I think, and people had expectations after it. Like, even people that weren't big Power Rangers fans, but maybe knew something about the show from when they were kids, even though it was really obvious to me, and probably anybody that was a big fan of that show, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but that after credit scene, like, really excited and impressed people, and like that seemed like the obvious thing to do to me. Like, I kind of expected that, but a lot of people were like, oh man, can't wait for Tommy. If you straight up rebooted, I think that would confuse people.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have spent more time with Power Rangers and that movie than I have. So
absolutely, sure. No, this is
definitely going to concede on that point.
More invested in than you, and as we've already seen in just the last 15 minutes, the both of us on this show end up talking about things that we're not necessarily experts on or comfortable with, or even close to experts on. I don't like to call myself really an expert in anything, but Danny, let's go ahead and go on to the next question. I'm going to talk about that some more this coming week. Real quick, I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention is I'll be surprised if it's not Zed in coming back and doing a sequel to that. And I also think that there's every likelihood that Tommy will be a girl, like a lot of people were talking about. The cast was kind of pushing for that, and given that Rita was a Green Ranger, I really wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and made Tommy a girl. And that is a name that I'm seeing more and more frequently for girls lately. It's not a crazy stretch. I think if they do that, they'll probably spell it with an I. But I could see that. I think that's a plausible, if not likely. And I personally have no problem with it. I think that could be cool. But I think that's likely to be what they do.
Yeah. It's one of the easiest names to do the gender swap with, because it works both ways. It's not like you'd have to completely change up the name.
Yeah.
The next question is a super chat from John Early. He says,
"Thanks,
Cap, have you rewatched Unbreakable lately?"
I haven't. And I keep meaning to after Split, but I don't think I've seen Unbreakable since the Rewind, which would be like 7 or 8 years ago now. Yeah. I mean, I had seen it enough times back then. I'm somewhat familiar with it, but I don't think I've ever seen that movie. I mean, I don't think I've seen that movie more than maybe 3 times.
Yeah, I meant to go back and rewatch it after I saw Split. Didn't end up actually rewatching it because I just didn't think about it when I had time. And I'll probably go back and rewatch it, that and Split, before. Is it Glass? Is that the name of it?
Glass, yeah. In fact, I think at this point I've seen Split as many times as I've seen Unbreakable. But yeah, I'll definitely try to rewatch those beforehand, and I might even do a commentary on at least Unbreakable before the Glass comes out. Man, there's some things about that trailer that seem really, really goofy to me, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how to take the trailer, but I've still got to wait and see attitude of I'm hopeful for it because I've got the hype from Split, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to work because I don't have the most faith in M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, it looks like it could be. I don't know if shark jump is exactly the right way to put it, but just like a little bit too, I don't know, over the top and silly. But I guess we'll see where it goes. He's really doubling down on the 1999 2000 vision and view of what superheroes in the real world might be like, or even how we were perceiving comic book media back then. Like I agree with Eric when he says that trailer at least doesn't feel like it knows that in the last 20 years superheroes have taken over the culture. It does not know that.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, like I don't know. I can kind of see both approaches, but you kind of have to put yourself back then, and then but all that time passed in that world also. And so, what about people having superpowers changed the culture then, especially because nobody knows about it? Like, how come in our world Marvel Cinematic Universe happened but not there? Why is that?
Yeah, well, I guess it didn't happen in that universe because technically Marvel didn't exist, because every comic in Unbreakable was like a not Superman or
not true though. If memory serves, and I might not be remembering this right because again, it's been like 7 or 8 years. But if memory serves, all the books that Glass talks about are made up, but in the comic shop you can see things you're familiar with.
Oh, see, I never looked that closely. I just kind of assumed that they.
I always do, man. When I see a comic shop in a movie, I'm always watching out for things. I might be wrong about that. I'm almost positive that you see, like Daredevil and Spider-Man and Batman and all that kind of stuff.
Well, if that's the case, then I retract my point.
Nintendo Gamer in the comments here says, so Mission Impossible was amazing. I'd like to second that. It really was. Eric and I saw that the other day, and it won't be until our next omnibus that we finally talk about it. So I just want to weigh in and say, if you have not gotten a chance to see that, I had never seen a Mission Impossible all the way through, and I absolutely adored it. And I think it's a really easy thing to walk in on. If you've never seen them, it builds a lot on the last one. I didn't feel like I needed that to appreciate what was going on or to be invested in the characters. I thought it was grand, almost old school summer blockbuster fun, but with enough emotional weight that carried me through. And I cared enough about the characters, and it was the spy fiction version of Wrath of Khan in every sense of that, especially thematically. It's really, really good.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out then. The next super chat from the Vampire Diaries. Thoughts on Daredevil's new showrunner?
We talked about this, I think, maybe last year or a while back. So I don't have a lot to add. I realized that guy was writing on Arrow, and that's got people a little bit worried about it. And I just have kind of a wait and see attitude on it. It's really hard to tell when you have a screenwriter on subpar shows how much you can blame that specific screenwriter for the episodes they wrote and what they would do with their own show versus what they were kind of roped into and sandwiched between when writing scripts for a show that has a direction based on a writer's room. Having said that, I wasn't prepared to answer this. The last time somebody asked me about it, I went in and looked at his the specific episodes he wrote, and I think he wrote some of the worst ones in maybe 3 or 4, I forget. That's what I remember when I went back and looked. So yeah, I'm certainly concerned, but I'm not like losing my mind or anything. I just gotta look at it. That's happened with a couple of things lately where it's like, oh no, somebody that worked on Arrow got this gig, but like that show has a lot of screenwriters, and there are probably some good ones that were kind of shoehorned into a box to write on a really formulaic TV show. So, or what has turned into a formulaic TV show, because of course it didn't start out that way. But anyway, I think Arrow season 1 into the great stuff in the season 2 is not that far away from Daredevil season 2. Maybe that's a blasphemy kind of thing to say, but maybe the writing overall, maybe the dialogue writing isn't quite as good. But story wise, I don't think it's that far away. With the exception of things like the Huntress episodes, which I just need to not exist. I just need those to go away. But anyway, I digress. I haven't looked at any of the CW stuff in a long time. I know, Danny, you haven't either.
No, I lost interest going towards the end of season 4 of Arrow and haven't looked back since. Which
it's interesting
because I was so into that universe, but lately it was amazing how once I dropped it, I didn't think about it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of disappointing
Oh, Danny, I spent way too much of my time watching and taking notes and reviewing that show to not be in it, or that universe not be in it at all anymore. Now it's got 4 shows. It's got a 5th show coming. I haven't even been watching Black Lightning past the pilot, which I thought was okay, but I haven't watched past that. I don't know, man. I just can't get excited about that stuff. Maybe down the road I'll go back and sample again. But maybe I've said this before. After the season was over, I went back and tried to jump back into Legends where I left off. Legends maybe not the show to try to dip your feet back into this universe with, but I tried it, and I watched once it was on Netflix, season 2, and I watched the episode where they go back in time to save Star Wars, and it was terrible, and I just couldn't even. You haven't seen that, have you?
No. How many dark side jokes are there?
That's funny. That's fun. I don't think they were even clever enough to do that. Yeah.
Man, that's like bottom of the barrel level jokes.
And they cast they cast George Lucas, and they go back in time, and they gotta save George Lucas. And the reason they have to save George Lucas is because the scientists on the ship wouldn't have become scientists if it weren't for Star Wars. How's that not Gene Roddenberry? I have a really hard time with that.
I was about to say, every like science-based like documentary I've ever seen that talks about the influence of pop culture always talks about people being more influenced to go into science after Star Trek, more so than Star Wars.
Yeah, make it like some important filmmaker that wouldn't have become a filmmaker or something. Like that is just the laziest way to go. Where it's like, here's this thing we know is really, really popular, and we want it to look like a personal stake for our heroes. So we make it Star Wars and George Lucas, and that's why these people became scientists. Like, I'm not saying that never happened with anybody, but both of them acting like most scientists became scientists because of Star Wars. And this is nothing against Star Wars, but it's a science fantasy thing before it's a science fiction thing. Like,
yeah, I'd imagine that Star Wars would influence just as many people to pick up fencing as they would go into science.
Yeah. Anyway, now I'm just dogging on CW again. I apologize. Okay, Danny, what else?
Well, staying on the CW track, Pandora has a super chat and says the mute from John Wick 2, aka Ruby Rose, is Batwoman.
Yep, I saw that. It's good casting. I don't really have anything else to say. I'm not expecting a lot from that show. She put out a statement talking about how important representation is and all the stuff that we always talk about whenever we cast a some kind of a minority, and it's just very been there, done that to me. It's like, yeah, you guys have representation, just tell good stories. Like I'm not impressed with that. I'm sorry, it's a good thing, fine, but it shouldn't trump good storytelling. And if I, as an audience member, feel like I'm being pandered to and insulted on a regular basis, I really don't care what brilliant stuff you think you're doing for the culture. And it really feels to me like you're just laying it on really thick, trying to dupe people into thinking that your stories are good when they're not. And that's not fair because I've not looked at it in a couple of years. If it has gotten way better between some of those shows, let me know. But the part of the reason I got out of it was because I was being really tired I was really tired of being pandered to. I know some folks aren't going to like that. That might irritate people and run people off, but that's just how I feel about it. And I feel the need to mention it because it's kind of driving me nuts. I love the idea of a Batwoman show. I'm with Eric. I wish they weren't making it because it feels like they're just going to lay all that on too thick instead of just doing the actual progressive thing, which would be to tell great stories and have that be your lead and not pat yourself on the back for it. Well, what do you think, Danny? I'm sorry for soapboxing, but
no, you're fine.
I can't help it.
My first thought is she is exactly who I would expect them to cast if they could get her for that role, because that's the one actress in Hollywood I can think of that most people recognize as she's outwardly a lesbian.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
she outwardly identifies
But she's
as
a
that.
good actress. I mean, it's a good
Yeah,
pick, you know.
it is.
Also,
I'm not saying
I
it's not. It was
understand
just
why they
obvious.
want a lesbian in that role too. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Certainly. I also wouldn't have a problem with their casting an actress that isn't, because obviously we cast straight people to play the other thing all the time, and acting is acting, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a good thing to stretch your legs and see people try different things. Sure, but I also think they're kind of patting themselves on the backs, saying, "Watch our show because we're doing a progressive thing," and that doesn't make your stories good, you know. And that stuff has to stand on its own. So I'm not unwilling to watch it. It's just I'm not expecting the quality to be any better than it has been.
I'm surprised they're greenlighting new shows that aren't going to DC Universe. I get that it existed in that universe, but I would think if the idea to bring in a Batwoman show would be, let's put it on the DC Universe instead of connecting it to the Arrowverse.
Yeah. Also, I saw an article that said that they've come out and confirmed that Batman is definitely in that universe. And people have mentioned a number of times when I've talked about this that they've dropped little Easter eggs about Batman a lot of the time. I realized that it never seemed, at least from what I saw, that Batman was like a big deal and people were regularly talking like in Gotham, everybody knows about Batman. So I took some of that with a grain of salt. I was really kind of hoping, and maybe it's not fair for me to even have an opinion about this if I'm not looking at it. I will watch the pilot of Batwoman. I'm curious enough to look at it. But I was really hoping that she would stand on her own and come up with the Batmotif by herself. I think that would, that's what I wanted from Supergirl. This was a chance to finally do that. Again, you're patting yourself on the back. This is sounding really political, but this is how I feel about it. Danny, you're patting yourself on the back for how progressive you are. Look at us. We're willing to have not only a lesbian on our show, but make her the lead and deal with the life of with her life and everything that entails. But she's still got to, and I'm just assuming this if Batman's in that universe. Maybe this won't turn out to be the case, but I don't really see how you do that if Batman's there. But she's got to be in Batman's shadow in the first place. Like, wouldn't the real envelope pushing thing be to have just Batwoman and she came up with everything? Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be really cool, and I really like, because she's got, I'm assuming they'll take from more recent comics. Oh, I guess this has always been her comics. I'm not too familiar with her, but taking the military training and incorporating that into her character more.
Yeah.
That would be a really cool way to do it. Push that forward without needing to have a Batman exist previously to, you know, train her or inspire her to do anything. You know, you could, in any other universe, I would be really excited about the show because it's a really, really cool premise with a really, really stylized character. But I'm just not interested. And I never thought I'd see the day where I'm not interested in anything Batman related showing up in that. Because when I was watching, I was like, man, if they bring anything Batman in, I'm so in. And now I'm like,
well, also,
I'll maybe watch it.
I've said this before, but that show should be so stylistic, and it can't in that world, right?
Right. It should be black and white, and the only thing that's in color is her red hair.
Oh my God, that would be or at least kind of, I don't know, not sepia, but like pseudo black and white, like a Sin City kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be just wonderful. And I think, and again, it's not like in my way is the only way to do a thing, but I would envision a Batwoman show as like 89 and Gotham and stuff to be a very hodgepodge of different time periods, very out of time kind of show. I think that would probably work better with that stylistic idea than it's squarely 2018 and we're making pop culture references like we do with the CW shows.
Yeah. Sticking with the CW theme, Malik Myers has a super chat and says, I'll definitely be requesting season 1 of Arrow for a rewind down the road. And I agree, Cap, it's almost as good as Daredevil. Yeah,
he's mentioned that. It is, and thanks, man. I'm looking forward to eventually doing that. When I do it, I might tack on, I don't know. I was going to say I might tack on 2 or things about 2, but I might just break down at some point and do that. It's just, 2 got so convoluted, it's going to break my heart to watch it again because the first half of that is so good. And I don't even mean just compared to CW stuff. I think it's legitimately just solid television.
Yeah, the thing that got me into watching that show was hearing everybody rave about how good season 2 was.
They just kept subverting expectations constantly. Like somebody that you didn't think would find out his secret until maybe the end of the season figures it out in like 5 or 6 in is how I remember it. And I'm like, oh wow, I did not expect this. And that's what made me fall in love with Sarah Lance. That's why I was collecting her for a while. She's not even the same character anymore.
No,
personal feelings.
I get why they did what they did with that character, sort of. I really wish they had just left her as the Black Canary in that universe.
Oh, I know, me too. And I'm saying this with hindsight because they didn't know exactly what they were going to do with Legends and stuff when they killed her off. I don't think, but spoilers for Arrow, but it would have been, you could have done exactly what they did, Danny, and just make her a more tragic character. When she came back from the Lazarus pit, she should have had to go through some crap, man. It should have been like Angel coming back from hell. That's what that should have felt like, and it didn't. And if she had to really deal with all of that being on that ship, even the kind of obvious visual thematic stuff with White Canary could have been really interesting, where it's this character that looks like she's supposed to have been redeemed but doesn't feel like that's happened yet, where it's like I'm wearing these clothes but they don't fit. I mean, there's so much you could have done with that. Well,
just with the obvious influence of Death in the Family and Under the Red Hood, the animated movie, of being what they did with, killing her off and bringing her back the way they did, I'm surprised they didn't take that as an opportunity to really do a good interpretation of the Death in the Family story, because you could do so. I'm still waiting for someone to really do a really, really good version or adaptation of that with Batman and Robin, and it would have been nice to see them do that with Arrow and Black Canary, and they just kind of floundered, sadly.
They just didn't know what to do with her after that. She was really interesting, and like, this is just my opinion. I feel like when you get to Legends, from the very beginning, Katie Lotz looks bored. She more than seemed like she wanted to be there and was really exploring a character in Arrow. And in season 2, she does exactly the same thing Amel does between the past and the present, where she is playing a character who has changed. When you go back to the flashbacks, and her best stuff is a couple of her best scenes are on the island in the flashbacks. There's especially a conversation that she and Oliver have in that like makeshift bunker they have that's just riveting, and she is playing it differently in the past, and she has almost a harder road to walk because all of her changes kind of happen off screen, and when she shows back up, we don't know what exactly it is that's happened to her, and neither does she. And I guess Oliver has a little bit of that, but like that seems like a really tough role to play, and she pulls it off brilliantly. And then later, it's just she's pretty one note. Somebody asked that if she was a lesbian in season 2, and yeah, I know that's a thing that they've like really ramped up hard in Legends. She was bisexual before, and in Legends she just sleeps with every chick she can find in any time period that's willing to do that, and it gets really silly because it's hard to believe that in certain time periods especially that she's able to find anyone willing to be that promiscuous, much less of the same gender. I rarely buy that, but anyway, but yeah, that is not a thing they made up for light. It's not like she comes back from the dead and suddenly she's changed her sexual orientation.
Okay. I didn't realize they had changed her to just lesbian and kind of simplified it to that, which is kind of surprising because
I don't know if they straight up did, but she seems to only be interested in girls. Like there might be, I mean, remember when she has that relationship with Nyssa, which is really interesting, but she also goes back to Oliver for a while. I mean, she's straight up bisexual. And then this is not a thing I usually talk about either. And then when but I'm just talking about what was in the fiction. And then when you get her in Legends, at least what I watched, she never seemed interested in men again. Maybe she just didn't find one she liked. I mean, that's fair, but
that's kind of disappointing because let me get on my soapbox for a second and explain that.
Go right ahead. Sure. We've already dug enough of a grave, I'm sure, with some folks this evening. Yeah. You might as well.
Bisexual representation.
Oh, somebody said she slept with Constantine. I don't remember that, or maybe it happened later. But I don't know. But if that's true, I missed it. Oh, and yeah, she and Captain Cold did kind of have a thing. Okay, never mind. She's still bisexual.
Okay, never mind. My point was going to be that bisexual representation usually gets boiled down to they're gay but don't want to fully admit it yet. But if they're still going that way, good. More representation is fine by me. I have no qualms about anything like that. Next super chat from Dylan.
What happened later? Someone. Okay, well, I don't dislike that pairing. If she was still Sarah Lance, I still thought she was Sarah Lance. Man, do you have any idea how crushed I was when they killed her?
Which time?
The first time. I mean, like when I thought maybe she was actually gonna be dead before we were bringing back everyone, and I mean everyone. I was devastated, and back then I was live tweeting. And I just lost it in a live tweet. And yeah. Anyway.
I remember your videos on the topic when that first happened.
Yeah. Devastating. I miss doing that stuff. I miss reviewing those episode, but I had to quit because I was just saying the same thing over and over again. And I feel like I was just spinning my wheels. And I'm kind of doing that now. Go ahead.
The next super chat from Dylan. Sorry, Dylan. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I'm going to butcher it. Have you read any of the new Venom Run? Great book.
I have not yet. I have a stack of stuff that I've not looked at, and I dropped my pull list back a little bit, so I'm gonna get those later. But I read the first issue and liked it a lot, but I have not continued on it yet. But I will.
Yeah, and I don't read Marvel, so I'm not up to date on anything going on in Marvel.
Danny, do we have more super chats?
Yes, I'm saying one right underneath it and another one from...
Let's do those real quick, and then I saw a comment I would really like to address.
Okay. Let me get back up to the next super chat from Common X Wealth. What other superhero property would you like to see Telltale tackle? Personally, I would like to see their take on the Watchmen universe.
Yeah, we've talked about this. I don't know about Watchmen. I feel funky about Watchmen sequels and telling other stories in that universe. But, you know, we're getting more of that, so we'll see how it ends up going with HBO and stuff. That is, I was going to say it might be interesting to rewrite the original book where different things happen if you go certain ways, but I don't know if that's okay. That, that even seems, I don't know, kind of the wrong kind of, you know, exploitation of that work or whatever. My answer has always been Daredevil. I really want to see Daredevil Telltale. I think that's the next superhero property we should do.
I'm not too familiar with Telltale, but it's always from one singular character, right? How would it look like? No, it's not. Oh, then
sometimes it's not, and I like it a lot better when it is. That's what we did with Batman, and it was really great that way. We jump around with different heads in some of those. I think, yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah, the Jurassic Park one does. It jumps from different heads. That's a somewhat older one. I think Guardians does, but I've only played the first chapter of that. So Malik sent me that a while back, and I played the first chapter, but I haven't continued with it. I didn't care for it, but maybe it gets better.
Yeah, I'm with you. Daredevil would be another fun one. Superman or Captain America would be kind of fun to try to put yourself in the shoes of the person who's got to be the all perfect all the time kind of a character, I think.
It would be really funny to see some of the choices they would give you where you never have anything like like remotely not altruistic that you can pick, where it's like slightly, tell a white lie or tell the truth.
Well, I was just thinking it would be really cool to get yourself in that mindset and then have those options that are really uncharacteristic.
That's right. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I was just joking, but that would be the way to do that. No, I've always said with Superman, the way to go with that would be to do more Clark Kent than Superman. And the Batman games like that. There's almost more Bruce Wayne. I think there actually is more Bruce Wayne than there is Batman, but it would be cool to do investigative reporting and where all the investigating is actually out of costume.
Yeah. Have you played season 2 yet?
I haven't. I still got to get to it.
It's about the same way where you're doing a lot with Bruce Wayne still. So
a lot of people wanted me to live stream that. I don't know if I want to play it that way the first time I play it. I mean, I did that with Detroit Become Human, but I'm afraid I'm going to do that, and then people are going to ask my opinions on things that I'm going to have missed because I was trying to be entertaining while I was, while I was tackling that. So I don't know yet, but I haven't gotten to it. And Eric and I haven't had as much time to do things together lately, so that probably won't happen with the two of us. It would probably have to be me on my own at this point. But anyway, people keep asking me about that, so I thought I would mention it. Okay, is there another super chat?
Yes, one more, and it's from Random Reviewer. He says, please put Telltale Batman on the selection board.
Yeah, I saw that. At some point, I might do a selection board for video games, and if I do, that will definitely be on there. Although if I put Arkham Knight on there, there's probably, I would imagine, no way that it doesn't win, regardless of what else goes on it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. I mean, the problem with sneaking in a video game on the selection board is that it would be the most time-consuming thing to do, no matter what else was on it, if the other things were movies. Unless I did a TV one and just included it like a TV show, which I guess I could do. But I got to be careful not to do too many of these TV things because when there's a lot of meat in them, they take a long time. And I don't want to get into these really lengthy hiatuses between rewinds because people were really excited about it coming back. And I did like 9 in a row with no more than 2 weeks in between them. And I really want to get back to that.
How exactly would you go about doing a rewind for something like Telltale where your choices change? Would you? That's
a great question. My initial thought, because I've given this a lot of thought, Danny, would be to play it through twice and compare the experiences and review them each as if somebody wrote them with the understanding that they didn't, but they kind of did. If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah. I was more going to say my personal suggestion would be if you ever got back to live streaming it and not live streaming it, but broadcasting it, whatever the course is that you take during that, do the rewind on that so everyone knows and sees what happened. Because not everybody may be able to see the same thing unless they know exactly what choices you made at what times.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. And anyway, you sliced it, you'd have to do a lot more synopsis than normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it would be fascinating to talk about that as a narrative and like a complete piece because it wouldn't be written exactly with with like a message or a moral or a complete thematic through line. I mean, like I guess thematic through line is there, but like because you're able to make all the choices, it's not a complete piece that someone sat down and said this is exactly what happens. And so it's any way you review it, you're talking about a thing that wasn't meant to be consumed exactly the way you consumed it necessarily. And so and I already have a hard time with that with video games because as I've said before, I never feel like I have everything that I could have that might inform the story. If there was anything like in the background that I missed that ended up being important, or a side mission I forgot or something like that, there's just a lot more material. And that can happen in a movie too, but this is a big sprawling adventure. I mean, like I've said before, I think I said this in the Arkham Asylum rewind, video games are kind of like stories with some of the boring parts put back in.
Yeah, it's where you see your character moving from location to location.
Mm-hmm.
The next question from Noah O. Cap, what are your thoughts on the new Oscar category, Outstanding Popular Film, and the likelihood of Black Panther being a contender for it?
That is actually precisely the comment I was going to go to. We also had a super chat that you missed, I think.
Oh, no, we did?
No, there are a couple of super chats we missed.
One. I'm so sorry, guys.
No, that's all right. One is from James Ken, who says Lone Ranger rewind. That is technically a superhero, so down the road, yeah, that will have to happen, much to my chagrin. And Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat. Cosmic Ghost Rider, are you reading or reviewing? No, I don't know anything about that. Is there a current book called Cosmic Ghost Rider? Is that a thing?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't read Marvel, so I wouldn't know.
I didn't know about that. No, so I clearly, I guess I'm not. Or if that's an older thing, I don't know about it. So yeah, sorry about that. You know what I saw announced recently, Danny? as Guardians of the Galaxy.
I was waiting for someone to make a pun like that. I want to see the LaGuardians of the Galaxy, and it's just taking place at LaGuardia, the airport.
That's hilarious. Yeah, as Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm gonna have to buy it because I collect Angela. And they put Angela back in it. I stopped buying Spawn, and I got rid of my Spawn collection, but I still have. Well, actually, I don't have all of my Spawn Angelas, but I might buy them back again at some point because I have all of Marvel Angela, and I kind of like that character. And so I'm at a crossroads where I have to decide if I'm going to keep collecting Marvel Angela and buy as Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love that title. It's great.
Yeah, it's amusing. Yeah, and the Destroyer is on the team. How does that work? They're just going to control him, right? Like, he's not going to be a character, right?
I have no idea, honestly, what they would do.
Anyway, those are the super chats we missed.
Thank you for catching those, because when I scroll down to get to more of the comments, they just completely skip past them.
Sure, no problem, man. It's easy to do. I'm lucky I noticed them. But yeah, let's go back to the question you mentioned. I wanted to talk about this, and again, this will probably come up. This may come up in the omnibus down the road. I won't talk about this in the one with Jason, but Sonoa O asked about the new Oscar category, Outstanding Popular Film. Did you hear about this?
I heard about it a few hours before we did the show, actually.
Yeah, I think the news just came out today, or at least that's when I didn't see it before today. There's a lot of outrage about this. I have to say that my immediate reaction, having not had time to give a lot of thought to this, is I'm kind of in the camp of this is ridiculous. I don't like it. My favorite response to this was someone who put out a tweet with a picture of the 10 adjusting for inflation highest grossing films in American history, and every single one of them, so we're talking the most popular films, right?
Right.
All of them were nominated for or won Best Picture. Adjusting for inflation. All of them.
This is going to be the blockbuster category then.
Yeah, this is a mistake. The Oscars already have a bad reputation. Not a lot of people watch them. They're once again trying to come up with some bone they can throw at us without just doing what most people really want them to, which is to allow good films to get in regardless of genre. And a lot of people think that this is probably because of Black Panther, because people are not going to let it fly, that being a culturally significant film from last year that a lot of people were really excited about because it was a huge moneymaker that had a Black superhero and was also a really good film. That a lot of people are not going to stand for that not getting the Best Picture category, but they're not going to put an MCU film in Best Picture, and they're being prudes about it at the same time as they're trying to appease people. And I don't know, man. Is that insulting? Is that like,
well,
are they just out of touch? Is that what it is? The increase 5 to 10 thing, but you could tell which 5 weren't really in consideration, is exactly the same thing as this.
Yeah, Connor Nielsen puts it best. This new Oscar category reeks of desperation to me. Please watch our ceremony. A movie you might have seen. A movie you've seen might win an award. Bull crap. And I'm with him. It just seems like we got to do something to get more people to watch, because most of the Oscar bait films aren't getting the big releases compared to, you know, the superhero or the blockbuster stuff. So they're trying to get more eyes on their stuff, and the same, you know, kind of going in that into the movie awards direction of let's make it about the popular. Let's make it about the thing, you know, not the thing that's, hey, this is a really, really, really good movie. You should go watch it.
Yeah, like you could say, okay, yay, these movies can finally win an Oscar when they weren't allowed to before. But the point was, but a lot of those movies were already winning like technical Oscars and things of other categories. Is it really that much better that they're nominated for this like made up new category, because again, it's not best picture, it's just best of the kind of popcorn nothing who cares movies. And how do you even, because here's the thing, every other category, I think, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, every other category it's difficult to disagree with, right? Animation, we know what that is. You know, like we know what an animated movie, comedy, like sometimes maybe there's an argument to be made for certain things over other things, but for the most part, yes, we understand that that's a comedy. I'm not even saying that's a category. I'm just saying you know, things that are classifiable, right? And then you get to popular film, but like what movies are okay to put in the we don't want to actually consider it category other than others, as opposed to others? And when is a movie too popular to then go in Best Picture? Like, okay, so Rocky wouldn't have been able to go into Best Picture because it was too popular. That's obnoxious.
Yeah, is anyone going to view this new award as legitimate? Like, if you win Best Picture, there's some credibility.
People are calling this a fake Oscar.
Yeah, I'm going to look at it as like, that's kind of I hate to use this term, but the participation trophy of the Oscars, it seems, just the way it seems put, the best popular. Like, it's not good enough to be an actual Best Picture winner, but y'all like it, so here's an award so we can get some press for it. And so, you know, Marvel can say, we won an Oscar. Or not, I don't want to pick on Marvel in that instance, but if Black Panther will probably be the film to win that with this year's Oscar.
I mean, I think they're throwing us a bone. It's almost like they're saying, "Screw you, it's never going to happen." You know what I mean?
It's like play candy. So here you got your Oscar now. Shut up about putting a comic book movie in the Best Picture category.
Yeah, and I don't know. I would almost respect them more if they just came out and said, "Look, certain kinds of movies are just never going to win."
I would too. At least you're
consistent, right?
You got a line. We know what what you have to do to be in contention for this type of award.
Because I know this is the obvious place to go to, and I always go back to this, but every time they do something like this, it feels more and more like you only gave Heath Ledger an Oscar because he died. Yeah. The more they do this, the more I'm positive that's what happened. Yeah. He does not get a Best Supporting Actor even nomination if he doesn't die.
No, I don't think so either.
Oh boy, it really bothers me. And the thing is, a lot of the kinds of movies that they won't consider for Best Picture are the things that are like most affecting the culture as art, and not just because they're popular, but because they resonate. And I'm not saying that that things should go to Best Picture because they're popular. That's not what I mean. But sometimes you can tell like this is resonating, and the reason it's popular is because it's so good and important to people. On a side note, I want to mention something. Was it Grady Childs? Was it Noah? Oh, I forget who said it. I didn't write it down. Somebody mentioned the first Black superhero thing.
Blade.
And I just want to mention that. No, it's actually not.
It's not?
But no, there are a few before that. But what I want to mention is that, I mean, that's maybe the first major motion picture, but you had Star Vehicle things before that, Steel's before that.
Is it? Well,
yeah. Yeah, Blade is what, 98? Isn't Steel like right around there? But also you had like Meteor Man, you had Blank Man years before that, or like a couple years before that. But I mean, right around there. I'd have to go back and look at dates, but I don't think Blade predates all of that, does it?
I'm sure it doesn't predate Meteor Man, because I think that's mid.
Isn't that like 92, 93? I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, Steel is 97. Spawn, yeah. But like, so I'm not saying good Black superhero movie. I'm just saying that I am seeing like, here's the thing. I completely get and agree with the argument, which is that movie was important for a lot of people because it had a mostly black cast, excuse me, and it was in an important movie and what it had to say about race in the culture and stuff. But also it's just factually incorrect that it was the first one. Because I've seen a number of articles that have said that, and like you have to put a couple of caveats in there, like in the last decade or like half a decade. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like people aren't looking at the history, and I find that kind of irritating. It's not the most important thing, except when I see that in an article from someone who claims to be a journalist, it looks like you're not doing your homework. That's all I'm complaining about. That's all I'm complaining about. I make mistakes too. It's cool.
And I get the point of wanting to make a distinction with Black Panther being the first of this new renaissance of the MCU, of this new...
You have to put that caveat in there. You have to say that.
Exactly. It's not the first. It's not even the first good one, because, you know, you can look at Blade 1 and 2 as good examples of Black Marvel superheroes. But I get why there's that caveat there. It does bother me too when people leave that caveat out, because that is an important caveat to put in for not only for context, but to show why this one is important as compared to any of the others.
Yeah, everything Geek says. Also, some people say that Wonder Woman is the first female-led superhero movie. Truth is the first female superhero movie that isn't complete garbage. That's absolutely true, and is almost the case with first Black superhero movie also, with the exception of Blade, and I like Blank Man as a comedy. But yeah, that's true. And we heard that kind of thing even when Supergirl came out. You know, where like the TV show, where it was like, oh, good, finally a female superhero on television. Like, yeah, first lead one in a long time, but Wonder Woman was very popular. I don't understand what we're talking about there. We got a short memory.
Yeah,
we really do. Danny, we are already an hour in. Let's do maybe a couple more, if you don't mind. I feel like we've spent a long time on a couple of topics, but we had some meaty stuff this evening.
Okay, this one is from Killing Our Work. Cap,
yeah.
What's the one question you wish everyone would stop asking?
Ooh, that's interesting. When are you going to do Teen Wolf? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I guess it's when I'm working on a rewind that takes a long time. I guess it's when is like not even when is it coming out? Where is it? That is my least favorite question. Where's the rewind? I just forgot to upload it. Like
it's on my other channel.
It's coming up. Yeah, right. I'm using it as newspaper. No, I've not forgotten about it, guys. And like. I hate to complain. You asked the question, so I'm answering it. I hate to complain because it's so cool that people care that much that they're impatient. That is a thing that I'll never take for granted. But at the same time, it's difficult not to get a little bit flustered when I get a whole lot of that, where I'm like, oh God, I gotta hurry up and get it done. And then I'm like, oh no, that's right, quality matters. I should probably try to, I don't know, do a good job if I can. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's probably the question that I most wish people would quit asking. For a long time, it was, when are you doing Rises?
When are you doing BS?
You know, I have another one too. Can I do a rant? Can I do a quick rant?
This is your channel.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I gotta ask Danny for permission. It's the Captain Logan show, but the producer is really in charge.
Yeah, there's a small little asterisk in the logo that says, and then at the very bottom of the thumbnail says, actually the Danny Nixon show. You have to look really close, and it's in red font, so it kind of blends into the background, but it's just there.
Yeah. What I don't get is how it got there, because I made up the show. I don't understand that.
Well, I did design the logo, so you know.
Oh, that's a good. Oh, I should check those things before.
Read the fine print, Cap.
Danny, probably the actual. Okay, that's second to this one. The question, and call me a prude or whatever you want to call me. I don't know what the word would be. But this one drives me crazy, and it's not just the channel. More of the time, it's actually people in my personal life, but that wasn't the question. The question was just, what question are you most tired of? So here it is. Are you going to see X superhero movie that just came out? Hate that. Hate it. No, I'm not. I'm gonna skip that one. It's what I do, guys. It's what I do. I review all of them. And like, yeah, there was a time where I wasn't doing new reviews for everything, but people don't even specify theater. They're just like, are you gonna see that? Nah, I'm gonna skip that one. Are you gonna go see Logan? Nah, thought I'd skip that one. Drives me crazy. Even Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Like, I know that's a small movie, but I had that with one or two people just in my personal life. Hey, Captain Logan, because everybody calls me Captain Logan. Are you gonna go see Teen Titans Go to the Movies? No, I'm gonna skip that one. It's a superhero movie. Just assume I'm going.
Well, the funny thing about that,
the only one I can think of where it was ever a valid question was Split because we didn't know.
Yeah, and then if someone asks you and you try to clarify why, they kind of spoil it, so they can't really even ask that. I mean, Rasco was trying to like nudge, like, hey, you got to see this movie.
Oh, Connor's got a good one. I feel bad because I feel like we're throwing some of our viewers into the bus, and I'm sorry for that. But you know, I get in this rough space where I'm like, the really diplomatic thing to do would be like, no, any problems with anybody. Everybody's wonderful. But that would be disingenuous to the person that asked the question because they want me to say something amusing and fun. And unfortunately for folks that may have done this before, I have that answer. I like Connor. And Connor, this is maybe my third one. When are you gonna review Death of Superman? It's on digital. You know my whole thing with this, right?
Yeah, everything's got to come out on physical.
I wait till it's out on physical media because we do them as spoiler reviews, the direct-to-video animated movies, and I want to wait till more people have them. I'm not going to buy it on digital and then go out and get the physical copy. I have it. It came out Tuesday. It's right here. And I've not watched it yet. My birthday is on Sunday, and we're going to have some people over, and I decided to save it for that because Death of Superman is such a major part of my childhood and one of my absolute favorite things, and I thought it would be wonderfully appropriate to wait and watch this on my birthday. So I'm not going to do it until this weekend. So I don't know yet, but I've heard good things, which is surprising because with the animation style and it being in that universe, I wasn't really trusting it. But then they went off and made a really great movie in that universe with that Suicide Squad movie, so I had a little bit more hope after that. Anyway, I'm hoping against hope. So you won't see a review of this until the next omnibus proper. So it's going to be like 3 weeks, but we'll do a. So sorry about the wait, but we'll do a review then. But anyway, how about one more?
Okay. Well, we've got a super chat to get to before. It's not a question, so it's more of a comment. Mr. Roboto says, "Steel was goodish. The sequel would have improved." Steel? Yeah.
Wow, I don't agree with that at all. I thought it was terrible, but I haven't seen that in a really long time. So, you'll get to see the review not too long from now because it's on the short list. So, yeah. All right. How about one more actual question?
Okay, from Donnie St. Pierre.
Are you going to open up Pandora's box like you tend to with the last question? The last few shows, it's been like, okay, we got 3 minutes. So, Cap, how do you think the universe was formed? Go.
How'd you know what question I was going to ask?
Oh, no! Look, I don't know, okay? I don't know!
No, I figured I'd give you an easy one this time. Cap, how do I get into TMNT?
Was that the question?
Yes. Donnie St. Pierre asked, how do I get into TMNT? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So does he mean, like, what version is best to start with? Or is that what we should assume?
I am going to assume it probably means comics because it's easier. It's pretty easy to get into a TV show. It's pretty easy to get into movies as far as following what order. I'm going to assume that's about comics. Yeah,
or how do I get into could even mean like what version should I look at if I want to get immersed and you think that'll turn me into a fan of it? That could also So if that's what he is asking, start with the 1990 movie, and then after that, it depends on what your tastes are. With comics, this is not always the answer for other properties, but luckily it is kind of this way with Ninja Turtles. If you want to go all the way back, with Eastman and Laird, start at the beginning. And if you want to read Tom Waltz with the current iteration IDW Turtles, start at number 1. And those are both wonderful, and you don't need you don't really need to read any Turtles at all to really enjoy and appreciate Waltz, but it's also fun to see characters that you're familiar with and how he reinvents them in that. But I think that that's a wonderfully accessible book for really anybody. So I'll try to answer both possible interpretations of that with...
he says, where do I start for comics?
For comics, yeah. I think IDW is probably the place. I think, like, these days, tell me if you agree with this, Danny. I think you might actually enjoy the Eastman and Laird comics more if you read some of Waltz first. I know I had that.
I haven't gone back to read any Eastman and Laird stuff.
Okay, all right.
So I wouldn't know. I've got the one trade that you sent me. Enjoying it so far. I'm finally getting around to reading it.
Cool. Awesome.
Enjoying that so far. So I don't really have much input to add on that.
I see another super chat here.
Yes. Mr. Roboto says, how will you handle all the shows?
Well, all the shows. Just gonna do my level best, guys. That's all I can promise. I know I stretch myself a little bit thin and we have a whole lot of stuff going on, but some of that is because well, when you say handle all the shows, do you mean shows we're making or things we're reviewing? I'm not sure, but if you just mean all the things that we're doing right now on the channel, gonna try to prioritize Rewind again, and then do as much of everything else as I have time to. The difficulty right now is, and this, just being fully transparent, is that I have these requests from Patreon now, and my revenue stream is much different than it used to be, and is coming a lot more from directly from the audience than it used to, and I have to do things I promised that I'll do, and so I'm putting Rewind front and center, but also I have to put the request kind of right next to that, because those are paid things and we have people that want them regularly. And again, it's a cool problem to have, but I have to do stuff that I promise folks. So some of the things that really support the channel are not necessarily the things that the majority of people are even asking for, which is kind of an odd, interesting place to be in. So I've been having to do kind of some restructuring and rethinking about how I do things, just because that took off and I didn't expect it to. So I don't mean to just do things to make a lot of money. It's not that. But at the same time, people are directly giving me money, asking me to do things. And if I'm going to make that an option, I have to do those things. So yeah.
You just saw the super chat?
Yeah, David Crabtree put in a super chat and said, "Oh yeah, that's true." I'm not even going to explain that right now. Go check out the Geekvolution After Dark that we just posted. I tell a whole story about the phrase, "Oh yeah, that's true." Yeah. Anyway, the only hint I'll give for that is look around on the Geekvolution, what do you call it? The social media bit of YouTube, the comment section on the channel itself, and you may find that phrase somewhere. Okay, well, folks, that is gonna be it for us this evening. Madman says, because cheese. That is the reason we do all the things that we do, because cheese. And thanks so much for being here. We sure appreciate it. Danny, it was wonderful as always, man.
Absolutely. I am really enjoying doing these live shows, especially at night.
They're so much fun. We've been letting them run a little bit longer lately just because there have been more folks here, and I'm a little long-winded, as I always have been, and we want to get to as many questions as we can. Danny, was there a ton left? Was there just a ridiculous amount we didn't get to?
There was a lot I didn't get to that I was just writing down from the beginning. So
wow. All right. Well, I like to be thorough, you know. I don't want to be. See, I would have like the worst panel at a convention. If I appeared at a convention and there were actually anyone that stood in line to ask me a question, which wouldn't happen, but if there was, I would, I'd answer like 3 questions in the hour, and then it would drive the audience insane. Everyone would hate that, or at least the people standing in line.
The most important question is, would I be the moderator or would Chris Hardwick be it?
I would totally pick you over Chris Hardwick.
Yes. Awesome. I'm putting that on a t-shirt.
Everybody, thanks as always for watching. Thanks for the birthday wishes, folks. I appreciate that. I didn't throw that into there, but by the way, my birthday is coming. I just wanted to mention that I haven't seen this yet, and that's the reason why. And maybe that's not interesting to anyone, but it's my show, so I told that story. Next Wednesday night, once again, 9 p.m. Hope to see you there. We may do a theme show then. We may do another one of these. I'm going to play it by ear and base it probably mostly on news that comes out through the week. Because if it looks like the majority of the questions are going to be just people asking me about things that happen in the news, I'll probably just do one of these again. And like I said, Danny, I'm hearing from a lot of people saying this is the way they most prefer it. So.
Yeah, it seems to, these are the ones that get the most questions, but then again, it's a very open topic, so you can ask anything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to expect that you'd get more participants over.
Yeah.
Let's do an entire theme show on Smallville's Lex Luthor. Well, I don't know how many people are going to show up for that, but we could do it anyway. Folks, thanks a bunch for watching once again. We will see you again next week, and in the meantime, I am Captain Logan.
And I am Danny.
See you later, folks. Good night.